this video, I will show you how to graph a polar equation using a calculator and using table value. So first of all, graph the polar coordinate. We have r comma theta, right? R is the directed distance and then theta is the directed angle. So let's say I want to graph r equals to 5 times cosine of 2 theta. So first thing that you will have to set up is you have to go to mode. Do you see the screenshot over there? You have to go to mode. This one, you have to do this in your TI-84 or TI-83 graphing calculator. So first you press the mode key. My calculator is not a TI-84. Mine is called a Graphing Calculator Pro. It's similar to TI-84 but not exactly the same. So on my screen, you will see something different. So on your screen, you go to mode and then you select you put the mode in radian mode, and then you have to select the POL. So degree mode and POL. POL stands for polar. Did you do that? Degree mode and polar. So degree mode in polar on my calculator. I did that too, degree and POL. And then you want to go back to the home screen. So every time you want to exit where you are, you want to go back to the home screen, you click second and then you click mode. Second and then click mode. You go back to the home screen. So now I need to do a graph. So you press Y equal right above the second key. So now, do you see that they are not giving you y equals to anymore? They are giving you r equals. So because we just changed the mode to polar. So later on, if you want to go back to rectangular, you have to go to the mode and then change that back to a function, func. All right. So why don't you enter this polar equation, 5 times cosine 2 theta. Do you need to type the multiplication symbol? On my screenshot, I did not, but just type it. So you tell the calculator that is a multiplication. So you type 5 times cosine of 2 theta. So where is the theta? Where is this theta? Do you see that there is a key right under the mode? It has a x and then a theta in it, right? So press that. So because you are on a polar mode, so once you press that key, they don't give you an x, they will give you a theta, right? And then close the parenthesis. So now we need to set up our window. So press the window key, and then this is how I set up my window. So I have an example over here. So the x minimum is 0, and then the x maximum I use a 360 degree, and then the step I use a 2. The x minimum I will be using a -8, and then the x maximum I will be using a 8. And then the y minimum, I don't have a scale right here. And then the scale, leave that in 1 x scale. And then the y minimum, I will use a -8. Y maximum, I will use an 8. And then on my calculator, I cannot change the rest. But as long as you have this setting, you will be fine. So after the setting is done, and then you click graph, you will see this graph. So this graph is the graph of 5 times cosine of 2 theta. And then you will see the orientation too. You see how the graph is constructed. But on my calculator, once I press graph, they will just show me the entire graph. So I can make it bigger for you. So on my side, I will just see the entire graph. On your side, you will see how they trace the graph. Okay, so now when people give you a polar equation, this is how you graph it. But how do you do this by hand? Okay, so let me show you how to do this by hand. So to do this by hand, here is how we do it. We have to get the table value. So you still have your equation, right? So to get the table value, you have to set up your table first. So go to table setup. The way you go there is you press second and then you press the window key. And then here is the setup that I want you to do. I want to start at 0 degree, and then the delta table, that means the increment. The increment, I would like to set the increment to be 15. And then the independent and dependent, leave that as an auto. I don't have that option. Again, my calculator is not a TI graphing calculator. And then once you are ready, click second graph. So you click second and then you click graph. What do you see? The word right above the graph, do you see the word table? So second graph, brings you to the table, and you will see that the table starts at 0, and then the degree is increment by 15. And then for each theta, there is a r. So theta equals to 0. What does that mean? That means they plug in the value. R is equals to 5 times cosine of 2 times 0. So that means we have r times 1. R times 5 times 1 is equals to 5. That's how they got the 5 right here. So when the theta is 15 degree, and they give you the approximation too. So if you do this, you don't have to do any you don't have to do the trig function evaluation by hand. Okay, so if you hit the down arrow, go down, you will see that every angle gives you a direct distance, the r. And then you have to fill out a table. So in this table, I changed the 2 theta to a 3 theta. Okay, and I want you to do a table for me. So how do I do that? So second mode to quick. First, I go to y equal. Let's retype this. I'm going to type 5 times cosine of 3 theta, close parenthesis. So this is ready, right? And then when you hit the graph, you will see the graph, right? But I need the table value. So to get the table value, you go to second quick to go back to the home screen. And then you go to a second window. Make sure your setup is right. I want to start at 0 degree because my table starts at 0 degree, and then the increment is by 15 degree. Why the increment is 15, not 25? Because if you look at our polar plane, the increment is go by 15, 15, 15, right? So 0, 15, 30, 45, 60. So I want to take care every single one of those degree measurements. So that's why I let the increment be 15. And then once the table setup is done, you go to second table and you will see all the numbers in there. So the first one, when x is equals to 0, r is equals to 5, and then the next one is 3.53, right? You can, let's just round. So 3.54, and then 30 degree, you have a 0. 45 degree, you have a negative 3.54, and then 60 degree, you have a negative 5. You want to see the rest, you hit the down arrow. 75, you have negative 3.54, and then 90, you have a 0. 105, you have a 3.54. 120, you have a 5. 135, 3.54, and then 150, 0. 165, negative 3.54. Negative 5, negative 3.54, 0. So it looks like it's circulating in a pattern. 3.53, 4. If you use 53, that is not going to change the whole picture, but you know, I want to be more accurate. 5, and then a 3.54. And then this one is what is this? This is a 9.18. 9.18 times 10 to the negative 15. That is a scientific notation. When you see this kind of number, that means the r is very close to 0, and using 0 is completely fine. And then the next one is negative 3.54. The next one is negative 5, and then negative 3.54, and then a 0, and then a 3.54. Okay, and then I will graph every single point and then follow the orientation, so you will get the graph. All right, so let's can we move the table up a little bit? Yep. And then this picture, I would like to make the picture bigger. Okay, so the first point is 0, 5, right? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 0, 5. Then we have our first point. And then the next one is 3.54 and then 15 degree. So that is a little bit more than 3. And then 30 degree, 0, 30 degree. So at 30 degree, we are at 0. and then 45 degree, negative 3.54. So that means you have to jump from quadrant 1 over to quadrant 3, because negative r means you have to jump 100, reflect 160 degree. So pi over 4, instead of pi over 4, I have to go to 5 pi over 4 and then negative 3, right? So that will be 0, 1, 2, 3, and then a little bit more. And then 60 is negative 5, so 60 is here, right? Negative 60, then that will be right here. So negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I need to erase those dots because they are not necessary. And then 75 is 3.54. 75 degree, so negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and then a little bit more. And then 90 degree is a 0. So the correct orientation so far is this. You don't have to draw the arrow. You can draw the arrow if you want to, but I remember last time I didn't ask my student to draw the arrow. So we just stop at 90 degrees. So we can mark this a little bit. So because for the next one, after you finish the trace, you don't want to go back to see, okay, where did I stop, right? So you mark the 0, so you know that you start right there. And then the next one is our 105, 3.54. So 1, 2, 3, and then a little bit more. And then 120 is 545. And then 3.54, and then a 0. So you go this way. And then we have a 165. 165 is right over here. And you have a negative 3. So you have to jump from quadrant 2 over to quadrant 4, which is right here. 165, we have negative 3.5, right? So that will be 1, 2, 3, and then a little bit more. And then 180 is negative 5, so you have to, instead of 5 over here, you have to go to the positive 5. So we have to get rid of that. So that means we go back here. So that means we have to link them. So this one, oh, come on. 180 degrees. So we just finished 180 degree. And then right here, and then the next one is 195 degree, and then we have negative 3. So we have negative 3, then we go back to this point, and then the 210, we have a 0, so we go back to this point, and then the 225, we have 3.54, so we go to this point, and then the 240 is 5, we are at this point, 255, this point, 270 is equals to 0. So it looks like if you keep working on it, it will just go over this pattern again. So that means the repetition starts right here. The repetition starts right here. So the graph repeats again at 13 pi over 12. So this is the graph of the polar equation, r equals to 5 times cosine 3 theta. Alright, so that will be all in this lesson. I know one problem is never enough, so I will have a couple more problems for you. So I will see you all in there. If you think this instruction is helpful, especially the calculator, you don't find that easily online, click the like, subscribe, share this out for me so more people can get benefit from this video. I appreciate your help. Signing up for now. See you all in the next problem.